Tonight we were blessed to listen to the 12th juz of the Noble Quran, and this juz, this para, comprised Surah Hud. Well, we completed Surah Hud already, Surah Yunus, Surah Hud, and now Surah Yusuf as well. Now Surah Hud is the one about which Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, when the Sahaba spotted white hairs on his beard, then they told him that we see that you have white hairs. So he said to them, it is Surah Hud, shayyabatni Hud. It made my hair go white. So this surah follows in a similar theme as Surah Tawbah, which was in the 10th para, and Surah Yunus, and then Surah Hud. So they all have similar themes. In a sense, they speak about the punishment of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this juz, specifically 7 Anbiya are mentioned in the surah, in the 12th para. And these Anbiya, a little snippet of each of their stories is given and the punishment that came to their people. And in the opening verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. So on the entire earth, you won't find anything. Dabba literally means something that crawls. So meaning everything that's created, everything that's moving, that has life, all the way down to the things that crawl. You won't find a single one except that upon Allah is the responsibility of its rizq. Now usually when we think of rizq, we think of food, we think of money, clothing, income. But rizq, linguistically, it means that which will sustain you. So sometimes pain will sustain us. So that is what Allah Ta'ala gives us. Sometimes losing someone close to us, that is what will sustain us. Because people don't truly progress when everything is going well. We make progress and we change and we become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, usually in the times of extreme disruption. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises that whatever it is that you need to grow, whatever will sustain your soul, whatever will sustain your life in the akhirah as well, that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. So at the lowest level, it's things like food and money and things like that. But at its highest level, rizq is that which will sustain our souls. Now, you heard the story I mentioned of Masjid al-Dirar. So those were the people, the hypocrites, who were building something. It was a structure which they wanted to call a masjid. So they believed this will sustain their plot. They believed that this will help them. And the person who instigated the whole thing, the person by the name of Abu Amir, he cursed Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in a way when he said, whichever one of us is wrong, may he die alone, may he die far away from the people he loves, may he die surrounded by foreigners, meaning nobody who can offer him any comfort. So that was the way he died. He died very, very far away in Sham, in the lands of where Syria and Palestine and Jordan are today. That's where he died, away from his family, without anybody near him. It is mentioned in the books of history that the land that they had marked to build, because they did build a structure, once the Sahaba destroyed it and burnt everything, later on, a long time from then, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was in Medina, he was allocating land. So one Sahabi, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, told him, here's some land for you. And that land, it went over the land where Masjid al-Dirar was built. So that person, he said, I already have one home, already I have place for a home, but there is somebody else who needs a home, so give him this land. And that person took it, and he couldn't, in the time that he was there, every child of his that was born would pass away. Eventually he moved out of there, and whoever lived there, even if they kept domesticated animals, if they kept cats, if pigeons would try and live there, those would also die. That was the nature of that land. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again shows us in the balance of Surah Hud, He shows us the level of retaliation, the revenge that He takes on behalf of His Anbiya. And one of those that comes up in this juz, there are 7 Anbiya mentioned in this surah, in Surah Hud, but one of those is Nabi Nuh alayhi salam. Now, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, his story is quite well known. For 950 years, he called his people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people did everything to him. In the books of Tafseer, it is mentioned that they would stone him until he would fall down unconscious. So just think about that. How much must a person go through to be stoned to the point, to be pelted with stones and rocks, that he has to pass out completely? And still when he would wake up, he would say, Allahumma ghfir li qawmi, oh Allah, forgive my people, فَإِنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. They don't know what they are doing. The same dua that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would make hundreds of years later in Taif. So Nabi Nuh alayhi salam used to make this dua until eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him, لَن يُؤْمِنَ مِنْ قَوْمِكَ إِلَّا مَنْ قَدْ آمَنَ. Nobody else is going to believe now. Those who have brought iman, they've brought iman. But nobody else is going to do it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him, before this, he made a dua to Allah ta'ala. Once he was informed that nobody else is going to believe, he said, Rabbi la tadhar ala al-ardi min al-kafirina dayyara. Oh Allah, don't leave any of their homes on this earth. Because what they were doing was, they would teach their children, before they died, they would teach their children, don't believe in Nuh. And then those people would grow up and teach their children. And at that time, people would live for 200, 300, 400 years. So he would have to work with these people over and over, and then they would have their children who would just take their place. So when this happened, Allah Ta'ala accepted his dua, that no home of the disbelievers will be left on the earth. And Allah Ta'ala commanded him to begin building the ship. Now, when this happened, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam didn't know how to build a ship. He didn't have the know-how. So Jibreel alayhi salam would come and teach him. So he would show him, the commentators of Quran mention, and look at the planning of Allah Ta'ala. He would show him which kind of wood to get, how to take it, how to sand it, how to place it all together, how to connect one to the other. Some commentaries of Quran mention this took him 40 years. This entire process. So in this time still he was being tormented by his people, to the extent that whenever he was building or doing some work with regards to the ship, people would come to him and ask him, what are you doing? And he would say, I'm building a ship. And they would mock him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies on his behalf and says, tell them, in taskharu minna, if you mock us today, the time will come when we will mock you. Now literally the meaning is we will mock you, but a Nabi doesn't mock anyone. It does not befit the status of a Nabi. So not mock, but we will show you that what we were saying was right, what we were saying was true. In any case, after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed Nabi Nuh alayhi salam that when you see the tannoor overflowing with water, then the floods are coming. Now, the commentators of Quran mention tannoor is, literally it is an oven where bread is baked. And Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, he had the tannoor of Sayyidatuna Hawa alayhi salam. He had her one. But tannoor also in Kufa, tannoor also meant the earth. So when you see the water coming out of the earth, that is when the floods are going to come. In any case, some commentators of the Quran mention that there are Sahaba who said that it was the oven, and when you see the water coming out of the oven, then that is when you must board the ship. So Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, that is exactly what he did. He followed the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He boarded the ship. Allah ta'ala commanded him to take certain animals with him. He took those with him as well. And then as the rain was coming and the floods had begun, as this started, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam told his son to join him in the boat. So out of 4 sons, 3 had joined him with their wives. So in total, some commentators mention after 950 years, he had 80 people. And others mention if you exclude his sons and daughters-in-law and a few other people who were related to him, then there were 10 people that he had. So Allah Ta'ala is showing us that again, the numbers is not what Allah Ta'ala uses as the criteria. Allah Ta'ala doesn't say, if you have a big crowd behind you, you have succeeded. So even in the world, if a person is the subject of fame and adulation and adoration, millions, billions of people even can support a person. But if that person isn't accepted by Allah Ta'ala, then all of that means nothing. So in the world, sometimes we can get carried away by titles, by wealth, by influence and power. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us over here, after almost 1,000 years, he had 80 people to show. In any case, this was not again a failure. There will be people, Anbiya, who will come on the day of Qiyamah with no followers. But still, Allah Ta'ala deems them a success. because it's not based on the amount of people who believed in them. So once he did this, he tried to convince his son, but his son said, Sa'awi ila jabal, I will climb up to a mountain and that is where I will stay. It will keep me safe from the water. So the answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, La asima min amrillah. Today, la asima al-yawm. Today, there is nothing that is going to save you from the command of Allah ta'ala. Nothing is going to prevent these waves, this water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Kal jibal, it was like mountains. Commentators of Quran mention that in all places, wherever the water went, and it went everywhere, it went 40 meters above the highest mountain. So whatever the highest mountain was, it went 40 meters higher than that. And Allah ta'ala tells us, whilst Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, whilst his son is arguing with him and telling him, and he said, La asim al-yawma min amrillah illa man rahim. Only the people whom Allah has raham on, only those people will survive today. Hala baynahum al-mawj. In between them the wave came. And that was it. After that, this ship over here, it had 3 levels, different levels for the wild animals, for the domesticated animals, and then for the people and the birds right at the top. This ship sailed for 6 months. And when it went to where the Kaaba was, the water didn't go over the height of the Kaaba. It went around the Kaaba 7 times until eventually when it stopped, when Allah Ta'ala commanded it to stop, it was the 10th of Muharram. And when this happened, when it stopped on the 10th of Muharram, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, he kept fast out of shukr. The commentators of Quran mention that all the animals on the boat on that day did not eat as well, out of shukr to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions is that of Nabi Yunus alayhi salam, which finished off in the last juz, but it is a story of a Nabi who went to his people and he promised them that if they believe, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept them and keep them safe. But they didn't, and after a while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, tell them that now the azab will come. They have 3 days. So they all got together and they met and they said, well, we've never known him to lie, so it's possible that the azab will probably come. Now when he gave them that notice of 3 days, he moved away from the town and went to live on the other side. So, because when the azab comes, he does not want to be there. So in any case, they had this meeting and they decided that he had never lied to us, so we all need to go out and make tawbah. So the next day, they took all their animals, their children, the men, the women, everybody went out and they made tawbah to Allah Ta'ala. So the punishment got lifted. Now Nabi Yunus alayhi salam, he was waiting for the punishment. Remember, he was far away. Now he was waiting and now he saw the punishment didn't come. Now in their times, in their sharia, the rule was if a person makes a statement and you claim he is lying and he doesn't have a witness to support him, then you have to kill him. That was the punishment. So now he thought the people will kill me. So he went away to the shore and there was a boat. He got on the boat and they took him for free because they knew who he was. And when they reached a good amount away from the shore, the boat stopped. So those people said that the boat that we have, if there is a slave running away from his master or somebody who doesn't have permission to leave, the boat doesn't move. So Nabi Yunus alayhi salam, he said, I am that person. They said, we can't throw you over because you are the Nabi. But he said, no, you have to. And they drew lots. They wrote everybody's name down. They drew lots a few times. Over and over again, his name came. And eventually, his name was picked and they had to throw him out. And when they threw him out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that the hut, which is known as a whale, it swallowed him completely. The commentators of Quran mention that he remained in there, some say for 40 days, some say for a lower period of time. But in that time, the heat was such that when he came out, even his eyelashes were gone because of the heat that took place in the belly of that whale. But when he came out because Allah Ta'ala accepted his dua, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. Because for a Nabi, even a decision like that must first come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even that decision to go away on the boat must first come from Allah ta'ala. So when he made this dua, then the literal translation is, there is no ilah, there is no God except you. Inni kuntu minaz zalimin. I am the one who've oppressed myself. So when we make dua, this is one of those duas that the commentators of Quran tell us it is readily accepted by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of difficulty, especially to read this dua. It is proven that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless that person with a way out, inshaAllah. May Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with the ability to live by the message of the Quran. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.